Hello and welcome to a very special music Majlis with Gulf News. Today we are joined by two of the music world's biggest names. I don't think Dr. L. Subramaniam and Ernie Watts need any further introduction. Thank you, sirs, both of us, for joining us here today, taking time off from your busy schedule here in Dubai.
Pleasure. Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Just wanted to start with music. That you are from very two different schools of music, yet you're here together and performing. What does music mean to you?
Music is life. Music is the way we feel, it's the way we think, it's the way we relate to the things that we see in the world. It's how we communicate.
I can't even imagine my life without music. Because from the younger days, looking at my father, hearing my father, and then the other great artists, legends. So seeing everybody, music has become almost a part of your life. And I can't imagine my life without music or without violin, in my case particularly.
Ernie, the saxophone and you are almost synonymous. Why? What does the saxophone mean to you?
Well, it's something that happened to me, I started playing in school. I started playing as part of the school system in the U.S. I caught on to it and I started practicing and started getting really involved in the sound. There was something about the sound. I was always self-motivated because my family was not in music at all. So it was something that I felt in my heart. It was from desire. I just really wanted to learn to play the music.
Talking about your very diverse, backgrounds, but then you said you met in LA. So just tell us, how did that happen, and what brought you together?
The first time we met was on a film. Dr. Subramaniam was writing a film, called Salam Bombay.
Yes.
And he called me to play on that, and we did sessions and performing and playing on that music, and that's where we met, and that was in the 70s, right?
I don't know.
I think yes, both Mississippi Masala and Salam Bombay.
Right.
Yeah, the first film was, Mira's first film was Salam Bombay.
Yes.
Right.
Then the next film I did was Mississippi Masala, Denzel Washington. Yeah, that's the next film. Yeah.
Right. And then we started playing together from time to time and working on different things together.
He started with that Salam Bombay.
That's right.
But I'm not into too much of film writing. My elder brother was very much involved in India.
Yes.
Right.
But so I used to do a lot of concerts, fusion concerts, like what I'm doing it here for Amit, where we have projects with other people. And there was one, Mr. Richard Bach.
Mm-hmm.
He had World Pacific Cricket.
That's right.
He was interested both in Indian classical music and also in jazz. His interest was both. So he used to record, Ravi Shankar, Ali Akbar Khan, all great artists, legendary people from classical side, M.S. Lakshmi. And also I think he was working with Crusaders, John Luke Ponty,
Yes.
and
Right.
different people.
I was also with I was also with the Pacific Jazz Company too, because I had been with Buddy Rich's band
Yes.
for 2 years before that. So it was all of that was sort of working together.
Around the same
Yeah.
time.
Right. Yeah.
So with Richard Bach, he was the one who said, why don't you do a fusion project? But those were the time when you're a classical musician in India. Anything other than classical music you did, there was certain kind of imagination among certain people that
It's not.
it's not good. So anyway, so that was the situation. So when Mr. Richard Bach told me, he heard me in one of the Indian classical concerts, he wanted to release a classical CD, which I said no problem. Then he said, why don't you do a fusion thing? Because I was writing my own music and I was doing my master's in Western classical music. He said, why don't you create your own thing and do a recording? Then I said, if I do the recording, I may not be able to go back to India. So whereas, I was doing a lot with Indian classical music. Then he said, but he was also a great devotee of Sati Sai Baba. He used to come to India and he used to make all the video for Sati Sai Baba.
Okay.
So he was in a way, he was not only he loved music, he also connected with little spirituality and Indianness and everything. So he made an offer saying that, you make an album and we'll make a contract so that it won't be released in India. So we will give you the rights, you keep it. If you feel like it, whenever you feel like it, you can release in India. So, but meanwhile, it will be only here. So why don't you do that? I didn't have any group as such at that time. So he said, whatever you want, we'll put together a group. So I said, okay, I'll write for a keyboard, piano, and then, bass, drums, guitar, and violin. There should be an excellent percussion player called Emil Richards. And he used to play with, Frank Zappa, George Harrison.
Right.
He used to John Williams, all the movie recordings, he was part of it and everything. So I met him, we traveled with George Harrison, Ravi Shankar, that tour we did in 70s. Emil Richard was part of it, part of George Harrison. So I said I like to have vibraphone, Emil playing that and drums. So I just put together a group and 2 days before I sat and wrote in hand some few music, whatever we want to record, because we had to record for 41 minutes. The LPs were basically 20 minutes each side. So minimum was you needed 41 minutes. So I sat and wrote and we went to the studio, recorded and forgot. I informed my father that I've done this. He said, okay. So then left everything and forgot. And then I went, almost 6-7 months later, I was touring, doing Indian classical tour in France. So he called me and said, so good news, said, what has happened? Your album has been selected as one of the 10 best jazz album in Los Angeles time by Leonard Feather.
Mm-hmm.
He said, you are along with Herbie Hancock and Carmen McRae and all the big names. See what you have done, what your potential. I said, I don't know what it is, but I said I didn't play jazz.
When you were evolving as a musician, what do you think was the most difficult part?
Not getting distracted. In the music business, there's so many distractions. There's so many other things going on besides music.
Okay.
So the most important thing for me was staying on the path. I always believe that if you stay on the path of the music and study and practice and focus, then everything works. Everything works.
Staying
for you.
alive.
Yeah. Because that's why we're there. We're there because of this incredible music energy.
When you say distractions, are you talking about the lure of commercial success, or
Or, yeah, you know, how about that car? How about that house? I think I'll build a pool. You know, those kind of things.
Right.
The distractions of this world. You know, this this physical world. This is the third dimensional plane. This is we live in the world of stuff.
yes,
You know, we have things.
yes,
You know, we're surrounded by things, and we are surrounded by what we think is this need of things. And so sometimes we get distracted from our original path by the pursuit of things.
Just quickly talking a little bit about fusion, and because this is the collaboration is unique. Do you think that everything that works or that is labeled as fusion is successful? Does everything work?
No,
It depends on the artist,
Yeah.
basically.
So what separates fusion from confusion in that sense?
Confusion is confusion for people who are confused and doing those kind of fusion. Because if you are very sure of what you're doing,
right.
and if it is as a scientific background, absolutely no confusion. Because the thing, there are different genres. Even at that time, there are great jazz artists. They were crossing over.
Yes.
There was a genre started, jazz rock, pop, jazz rock, jazz pop.
Yes.
Because all the what was basically happening was people were trying to reach to bigger and mass audience, because pop and rock and roll had a huge, massive audiences, because also it had vocals and things like
Yes.
that. And whereas jazz artists, they have to learn a lot more and play a lot more, and it's instrumental ensemble. So many people try to do crossover jazz rock or jazz pop, or some of them had vocalists as guest artists in the album, which definitely did better than just instrumental album. On the other side, people like us who are classically trained in other tradition, not Western
Yes.
classical Indian tradition. Fortunately, I had Western music tradition. I learned masters, I did my masters, so that whatever I want to create with Indian tonality, I could write and improvise with jazz artists. Because with Western artists, you write and every note has to be written. So whatever I did, like what I did with New York Philharmonic or London Philharmonic, every note is written. You cannot say, no, I'll play 8 bars, you also play 8 bars. They won't play a single note, because the tradition is, whereas jazz artists were very, very creative, and they had that very strong tradition of improvisation right from the beginning.
This year, the UAE is basically celebrating this year as the year of tolerance.
Oh.
And so I wanted to ask you that, how do you think that music can promote peace and coexistence and tolerance? How can music become the ambassador of tolerance?
They cannot create peace without music. Because if you see, all the diplomatic talks and whatever happens politically, everybody have a preconceived notion. And I'm not saying this is right, that is wrong, but everybody has a preconceived notion. But with their own priority, of their own preferences, with their own things. But what happens when, a typical example, when we played in UN with Menuhin, at the time our Indian ambassador and also some of the countries where, we are not very friendly with, some of the ambassadors from different countries where they are not in talking terms, they were all sitting there. But all of a sudden, that period of time, they forgot the whole thing, gave an ovation, laughed and smiled, looked at each other, but they completely forgot, I should not do this, I'm from this country, I should not smile at that person, I should not look at the person. Oh, this is true. So like that, the same thing, when we went to Russia at that time, I was living in US. At the time, they asked me to do a big, some major festival was happening in Bolshoi Theatre and also in Tchaikovsky Auditorium. So they wanted me to come with a group. So I said, I have my musicians who were in Los Angeles at that time. I have to travel, plus some Indian musicians from India. And they wanted me to use some Russian musicians. I said, I'll go and listen, we will select some great artists and do it. Initially, the objection was, They said, why do you need American musician to come to Russia? The same, it would have happened the other way also. If we say, I want Russian musician to come and play at that time, why do you need, we have everybody. I said, then they said, why do you need American musicians at all? Or why don't you take Indian musician to do things? But I said, this is not about that musician or this musician. The music which we are playing, these are the people who are familiar with this, so we can do a better job. It will become a better creativity, a better understanding. We are not going to talk politics. In fact, when we all landed there, none of us knew the language, and there was always a translator. So some of the musicians, Russian musicians, they were also so happy to play because they didn't get that opportunity to interact with other world. So the end of the show, literally some of them were in tears, both from American side and Russian side, because we played music. Music breaks down all the barriers, brings in peace, understanding.
Ernie, so there are, like close to 180 plus nationalities here who live in Dubai. So do you think that this is sort of what you're going to do with Dr. Subramaniam reflects that kind of diversity in music?
We all come from one energy. There's all these people and there's all of these, sources, concepts, ideas, but we all come from the same place. There's only one universal energy. If somebody sings, somebody sings the blues, oh baby, I feel so bad, this is the worst day I've ever had, right? Then everybody's going to hear that and they're going to take on that story.
Yes.
But when we play together and we create a sound together, then one person is going to hear the sky, another person is going to hear the ocean, another person is going to hear the movement of the universe.
Just a quick question about budding musicians here, maybe in India, in the US, around the world. What would be your message to them? A lot of people think that once you become a very successful musician, that's it, you don't practice. So how long do you practice?
So it's very important for me to practice. It's very important spiritually in that way as a meditation. Then it's very important to keep your physical rapport with your instrument. As you get older, it's very necessary to stay in touch with your instrument so that you stay flexible. Plus, it's a beautiful way to communicate with yourself, communicate with the spirit. It's a beautiful way to find peace, because when you're playing music and you're concentrating on playing music, whatever it is, you can't do anything else. When you play music, we don't play music. We become music. Music plays us.
Somebody, if they say, so you have been eating for 15, 16 years, so you don't need to eat anymore. You have been sleeping for 15 years, you don't have to sleep anymore. It doesn't work out like that.
Right.
As long as you live, you eat and you sleep. Right. So it is not, we cannot say this much of practice is enough for rest of your life. It's like saying, I've eaten this much of food, so you don't have to eat the rest of your life. So that practice is something which become part of your routine thing. For a musician who really enjoys playing, we don't think it as a practice, actually. It is almost like we are enjoying ourselves doing something which we love to do. If you don't play 4 or 5 days, you will know. If you don't play 10 days, others will know also.